Many have tried, but also many have failed to dethrone the best chess engine in the world, to dethrone the brutal Stockfish 16 engine. And the only finals that Stockfish lost now in the last couple of years was only one super final in the TCEC Cup event against Lila C0. And I would still say this tournament, this super final, should be a little bit different, because in the super final of the cup of the cup events, you're playing only 6 games. I think we need a wider spectrum of openings, a wider spectrum of sidelines in order to decide which is simply the best engine in the world. But as I said, every other cup final Stockfish won, every other TCEC competition, every other computer chess championship Stockfish won with a huge result, with a huge difference. So it's now recently a pure domination by the fish. It's simply the most dominant chess engine in the world. And now it's facing a new project. It's facing now the so-called Torch engine, which is now developed by 4 great developers of some other top engines. So we have now coalition of the developers of the Berserk engine, the Dragon engine, Qv2 engine, and the Ethereal engine, and they're having now united their strength, and they're now trying to dethrone the Stockfish engine from this beautiful chess events that Stockfish now recently won. And now the Torch engine is competing in the computer bullet chess championship against the fish. So it's now really an epic chess event. So we are covering now one game. At the end of the video, I'm going to reveal you the current standings of this chess event. Can really this Torch engine compete in the higher level, especially in this fast time format against the fish? Let's check out now one game. In my opinion, it was a brutal game, and I've been asked now many times, Yazarov, how do you decide which game are you going to cover? Well, basically I like positional games when we have great strategies, but also I like these tactical games when we have great tactics. And when I analyze some games at home, then I scroll down, okay, should I don't know, analyze this one, should I show this one? And then recently I've seen this game that I wanted to show you today, and I scroll down the moves, and in one particular moment I thought nothing is happening in this particular position. This will be, I don't know, positional battle, positional struggle, and then bam, a surprise happened. I was shocked by one particular move by the fish, and I decided immediately to show you this one, because it's just such a shocking tactic that Stockfish pulled off here. So in my opinion, really beautiful game. That's why, as I said, this is the way how I decide to show you the games, because it has simply this so-called it effect. It creates simply dynamics in the middle game stage. In my opinion, really, again, a sharp attack here by the fish. So let's see now the game Stockfish versus Torch. The fish opened here with the move e4. We have b6, the Owen Defense, d4, and now after move bishop to b7, bishop to d3, protecting the pawn. Now comes this idea e6, and basically in this Owen Defense, the main strategic goal is to break and enter here with the move d5. Stockfish plays normal development. We have now the move d6, playing now after a couple more moves in this double fianchetto style. You can play many times this opening. In my opinion, it's a flexible opening that black gives black the opportunity to break and enter later, maybe with move e5, d5, c5. In some lines you can even break and enter with move f5. So it's really a flexible, as I said, opening. But in my opinion, it's simply too passive, because you never placed anything in order to compete already on the 5th rank. So basically, when you're trying to play openings, you should play many of your pieces that could attack immediately your opponent's side of the board. So you have to play e5, d5. Knight to f6 is also attacking your opponent's side of the board. So you see, in this scenario, black is playing only on the 6th rank, really never challenges here white in the center of the board. So bishop to g5, knight to e7, queen to d2, waiting here maybe the bishop to come on g7, and then trying bishop to h6, trading off the bishops, and then launch in some lines maybe even the flank attack with h4, h5 if possible. So h6, kicking away the bishop drops back. We have bishop to g7, and now rook to e1. Stockfish is saying, you stayed enough here with your king in the center. Now if something gets cleared, I'll try to open the e-file. I'll destroy here simply with your king in the central position. So knight to f6, rook to d1. We have a6, h3, preventing knight to g4, and now after move b5, here a3, because the threat was of course here with the move b4, kicking away the knight, and then of course also to take out now the pawn on e4. And there is one game in the database here. It's Stefan Juric against Milenko Pucharevic from 2012, in which this position has been reached. And now here in this particular position, here we have a difference now in the preparation here, the torch engine played now aggressively in the center of the board with move d5. In this game between Juric and Pucharevic, black played now the move g5, played aggressively h5 and g4 and similar stuff. So here d5 immediately breaking in the center of the board. We have now the move e5. The torch ending goes with knight to e4, kicking with the queen. And the problem is now, I think bishop to e4 wouldn't be so good here for white, because after d takes e4 you have to step back with the knight. The knight to f5 is going to happen. So probably, of course, white is slightly better here, but I don't like the spaces now that finally black gets here, especially with this annoying pawn on e4. So that's why queen to c1 here by Stockfish. Stockfish is not allowing here torch to castle on king side, because if that happens, then immediately the h6 pawn is falling. So that's why here knight takes c3. After b takes c3, the torch engine provoked at least some weaknesses here on the queen side. So you see, we have now the c4 weakness in white's position, a4 is very weak, a3 pawn is weak, c3 pawn is weak. So at least something to battle for. So in my opinion, so far a good strategy here by the torch engine. So we have queen to d7, we have knight to h2, we have knight to c8. Very nice maneuver of the torch engine, playing knight to b6, then knight to a4, maybe knight to c4 are really amazing squares for the knight. We have now knight to g4. Stockfish is also rerouting the knight. Searches now also for weak squares in black's camp. Now, of course, h5 has to be played because the h6 pawn was weak. Now, knight to f6, bishop to f6, and after e takes f6, at least Stockfish open the position somehow, and this is good for the bishop pair. The bishop pair needs, of course, space, needs air to breathe, and now with the move e takes f6, okay, we have a double pawn, but at least we have new opportunities to get our pieces into the game. So knight to b6 with the preparation, as we said, knight to c4 or knight to a4. We have bishop to f4, queenside castling. Good move, I think, here by torch, because it's very, very hard for white to attack now here the queen side. You cannot play a4, you cannot play c4, so basically there's no good way for black to open here the position on the for white, pardon me, to open the position on the queen side. And here after move queen to b2, knight to a4 was played by torch, queen to b3, and now in my opinion so far a good defensive structure here on the queen side. But now comes the shocking moment here of the game. So as I said, it seemed to me that there's simply no way for white to break the position, because as we said, c4 cannot happen. A4 was blocked out anyway. Here, if you start to push some pawns on the king side, then you're weakening your own king here. So although white has the bishop here, I was really not sure how white is going to open this position, but the fish is the fish. The fish always finds opportunities. Look at this, what the fish is doing after queen to c6, rook to e3 first, queen to b6, rook from d to e1. Now after move bishop to c6, now comes the shocking moment. As I said, I was really surprised. I was like this at home, what the hell is going on? What is the fish doing here? Here the amazing move is bishop takes g6. Really wild stuff what the fish is doing here, sacrificing now the bishop for the pawn just in order to have this beautiful activity with the rook, and now the pawn is rolling. So Stockfish found a way to include the bishop, the rook into the game by sacrificing the piece, of course, but suddenly the pawn is rolling, and I think in this scenario white really never endangered the king now too much. The king on g1 is still secure, so Stockfish found a way to open the position but still to feel secure with the king, and now basically the pawns are rolling, the rook is very active. The problem now for black suddenly is that the knight is far away from the action. The knight is of course playing defensively a good role, and also here it's attacking the pawn on c3, but now it's simply far away from the action. It's simply this knight on the rim, and of course it's not a good knight now in the continuation. This bishop is blocked out anyway, so with one single tactic Stockfish basically paralyzed the whole position of black. So here rook to f8 trying to attack the pawn, bishop to h6, and now after move rook to f7, now we see actually what is here Stockfish's idea. After move rook to c7, Now the g6 pawn is weak, and Stockfish plays now a beautiful follow-up c4, sacrifices the pawn, liberates of course the long diagonal for the light square bishop, but who cares? Now the fish has a real object here, simply attacks now the weak pawn on g6. And what can you do? Queen to d4 is of course not possible, you lose the piece. If you play here rook to d4, it's also not good. Bishop to e3 traps the rook, so nothing can happen. So it's a messed up game for black for sure. So after move queen to g3, we have rook from d to d7, and now rook to e5. This is the way they go. And for instance, if you try here queen to b7 to get out of this tactical mess on the 6th rank, because the bishop was always stuck here to the queen, and maybe you're trying this kind of a battery against the pawn on g2, actually you get destroyed on the back rank. This was also a nice tactical preparation by the fish. You can maybe cover, but now after queen to g6 you can maybe include the bishop, and now after a couple more moves you get even checkmated. Look at this, bishop to f4, you take out this one, but now with rook to f5 you get a beautiful checkmate here by the discovered attack by the bishop. So you see, after rook to e5, there's simply no way that you escape from this attack. The back rank check is very annoying. Queen to g6 is going to happen. So as I said, your knight is out of game. So it's really becoming suddenly a one-way ticket here in white's favor. So queen to d4. Now Stockfish takes out now the bishop on c6. Stockfish got its piece back. But we have to say it, if we maybe would have played now this position with the white pieces, I think many of us would still mess up this position, because black is also here a strategic idea, a strategic endgame idea to play with 4 pawns against these 2 pawns on the queen side. So black will also let the pawns roll. Of course, now after move h4, that the torch engine played, you have to trade off now the queens, and you have still this target g6. But in my opinion, as I said, if white is also playing this endgame a little bit inaccurate, this could be really devastating also for white. White has to now play also the perfect game, and that's what I always liked about Stockfish games. Stockfish sometimes sacrifices a piece brutally just in order to get maybe a slight edge in the endgame stage, which is really crazy. So king to b7, now rook to e6, we have knight to c3, bishop to g5, attacking down the pawn. Now we have f4, we have now, as we said, c5. The pawns are rolling, 4 versus 2. We can create maybe here 2 passers on the queen side. Dangerous position also for white. We have now the move f5. Stockfish creates now also some spaces, and after move b4, a takes b4, c takes b4. Now bishop to h4. Stockfish has also now 3 versus 0 pawn storm here on the king side, but black is also very active. Black is also close to potential promotion here on the queen side. So after rook to h7, here was played by the torch engine. If you play b3, then the problem is that after c takes b3, c takes b3, you get an attack. You can maybe pass through now, but now with rook to b3, actually this rook can catch up with the pawn, and the game is over, I think, here for black. So that's why rook to h7 here. We have bishop to g3, c3 with the preparation to play b3, and then let the pawn roll here on the c file. So we have bishop to d6, b3. Now comes this idea, and now after move c2 here, Stockfish found this beautiful defensive resource, blocks out now here the potential progress of the pawn on the c file. But the cool part is that the knight is now standing in the way of the rook. Black would of course love to play now rook to d1 and then promote. It's not working because, as I said, the knight is really annoying here on d5. So knight to c7, rook drops back, of course, to e1. We have a rook to f7, bishop to c1, and now rook to d1. You have to now play rook to f1 in order to cover your back rank. And now the torch engine is, of course, playing this idea, deflect simply the rook from the defense. If you play, of course, here rook to f6, then this wouldn't be good. You cannot take it out, of course, because of the rook activity. So this is not working. So let's go further into the game. Rook to d1 was played by Stockfish, finally getting rid of this annoying pawn, and suddenly I think this is now completely winning endgame because of this 2 connected passers. So they start to roll now This is now a devastating position now for black. Really, we have seen cool strategies now here by fish, but also by the torch engine. In human level, I think, as I said, from white's or from black's perspective, I think many of us would mess this up, because you have to play really accurately here. You saw the move bishop to d6, rerouting the bishop here. Great defensive ideas here by Stockfish 16. So a5, we have rook to d3, rook to e6. Now Stockfish is letting the pawns roll. Here after rook to f1, we have h5, rook to a1, attacking now the bishop, but Stockfish ignores the threat, plays now a beautiful king to h2, not allowing this rook to get later into the game by playing the move rook to h1. Now if you, for instance, take the bishop here, the pawn will roll. You can maybe open the a file, but now we'll promote and the game is over here for black. So after move king to h2, we have rook to f1. Now Stockfish simply push the pawn further. We have knight to a6, bishop to c1, connecting now this bishop to both of these pawns. Now the serious threat is of course g6. You cannot take because the bishop is covering the h6 square. Now the torch engine tried knight to c5, but now comes this idea anyway. If you play of course knight to d3, it's not working. G takes h7 and you don't have access to the h6 square. This pawn will be promoted in the next move. So here after move g6, that's why a rook to h6, we have bishop to h6. Again, if you take, then we simply push the pawn further. Again, you cannot catch up anymore with the pawn on the g file. So after bishop to h6, we have knight to e6, bishop to f8. Again, you cannot take out the bishop. Then g7, g8 is again winning the game. King to c7, pardon me, bishop to h6, knight to e6, as we said, bishop to f8, king to c7. Here we have rook to e3, attacking now the knight. King gets closer, and now simply retreating move, bishop to a3. The knight is out of game. Here in the game a4 was played, b takes a4, knight to d4. Stockfish simply delivered a check, promoted now to queen, and after a couple more moves we have this beautiful tactical sequence, and after rook to h3 it was an amazing checkmate here by Stockfish. So incredible game, in my opinion. Epic tactical shot in the middle game stage, as we said, just in order to reach a beautiful end game. Really amazing how the fish is playing the game somehow. Always spices up the game, always finds opportunities in the middle game stage, and the current result after 700 and something games is about 250 points more for Stockfish against Torch. So it's a pure domination. It's a brutal thing what the fish is doing here against Torch. So far this project of 4 developers is not working against Stockfish, but maybe later they can reunite their strengths. They can maybe improve some flaws in the development. So this project is really interesting, because four brains are of course much better than 1 brain. So I think they will find some solutions, especially because of the fact also one developer of the Dragon engine is also participating here in the Torch project, and the Dragon engine proved itself recently sometimes as the second, sometimes as the third best engine in the world. Combined with this other brains, I think this could be really maybe a project that could maybe threaten Stockfish domination in this computer chess championship, but also in this amazing TCEC competition. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas here by Stockfish in the middle game stage, also later in the end game stage. If you want to see more brutal chess games like this, check out our coverage. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos on What Do We Say? Chess is the best, of course.